Episode 10, The Nick Handley Show, The Nick Handley Show podcast, available where you get your podcasts, including Spotify, on the Husker Max YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe on the Husker Max YouTube channel as I continue to get into it this week on the eve of the national semifinal for Husker volleyball. They'll be taking on Penn State tomorrow night. And then a big show in Omaha Saturday night with a guy that hopefully we'll be talking to a little bit later on in the week. So, again, thank you so much for the support. Glad you're with me, watching, listening, and wherever you're taking in the Nick Handley Show here on the YouTube channel of Husker Max and also on Spotify. This episode 10 is one why I've gotten into this podcasting thing and why I'm doing this thing, because a week ago I had a chance to talk to Eric Crouch and about the Heisman week that was for him in 2001. I've had some good conversations. I'm really looking forward to this one as I'm excited to welcome in Millard South Patriot, Nebraska Cornhusker, future Savannah Banana, and also the manager of the Wave Training Facility in Waverly. And, oh, yeah, just because that's not enough, we got to throw on the fact that this man is also in the radio business as well, hosting his own show on 93.7 The Ticket, Uncut. It is none other than Kyle Perry. Kyle, it is a pleasure. I'm just happy you could carve out some time to talk today.
Hey, Nick, thanks for having me, brother. It's always a pleasure to sit down and talk to you. And yeah, I like staying busy, and I do it to myself, so can't blame anybody.
This is I want to go to the recent exciting news for you with the Savannah Bananas, and I want to get into how you got involved with that. But Kyle, your story is it is a very interesting one. It's I think one that there's a reason why I think a lot of people would gather along the tarp area at Haymarket Park and wait to get your autograph before or after games, because of not only what you did on the field, but what you exude off the field and just being that example of overcoming adversity. And it looks like you've found a niche too. You found a platform from doing it on the radio, but also having a chance to take your talents from the mound, but knowing your personality, having a little bit of that entertainment value as well, which is what we'll have a chance to see with the Savannah Bananas. This just seems so perfect for you.
Well, I don't ever think of myself in any of those ways where it's like where I'm an entertainer. I think that's just my personality, where it tends to entertain people. I don't, so I don't do it on purpose usually. Sometimes I do, usually around like my family and friends, but just having that effect on people, it's pretty humbling, I guess. So I just enjoy what I do. I enjoy being around people. They charge my batteries. When I'm alone, I'm not the same entertaining guy, like I'm chill, super laid back. But I don't know. I feed off of people and their energy, and that's just how I've always been. And I appreciate being around good people like you, Nick, and I mean, and everyone that I always encounter in Nebraska. It's always a pleasure. And Husker fans, you know how it works. So seeing those people, I'm glad they appreciate me, because I sure do appreciate them.
This started out for you, and I would assume a guy that had a big role in what you did on the field, and probably a lot of what you've been able to do off the field too. A guy that I've always had so much admiration for, and a guy that I'm proud to consider a friend, in Greg Geary at Millard South. And your experience just developing in that baseball program that's put out so many Division I baseball players as of late, especially. What was that relationship like with Gears, and also at what point in that relationship, from a on-field standpoint, did you feel like this is something that you're going to be able to do in college? This is something that you're going to be able to have help lead the way a little bit.
Yeah, man, Gears, he's one of the best, and everyone that has encountered him knows that. He is just a prime example of what it looks like doing things the right way all the time. I mean, I don't think there's many people out there that could say negative words on Gears. So he's been a real example for really, you talk to anybody that's been to Millard South, that went to Millard South and played under him, that he appreciates the blue collar You got to earn everything. Nothing's given to you, sort of mentality, and he preaches that on a daily basis. And when I was in high school, man, I wasn't that serious. I never really have been super serious. There are times when you got to be serious, and times where it's appropriate not to be. But in high school, all that stuff was just lip service to me, man. And I just remember one day where I wasn't ever really thinking in high school, like early on, freshman, sophomore year, like, oh, you're going to go do this in college, or that the dream's always to be a Major League Baseball player. But I think for me, I just didn't know how it worked. I didn't know when you were supposed to start getting recruited or noticed or any of that stuff. And that leads into my recruiting process, but I don't need to talk about that. But with Geary, I remember one day he said, like, you guys, we were having a sloppy practice or something. He was talking about how grateful he was that he's in a job that that you that the coach is like regardless of the success or failures of the team, like he's going to be the coach next year and so forth. Where his job security is great as the Millard South coach. But he says, if you guys want to go play at the next level, this is going to be your coach's livelihood, and he's not going to be as nice as I am, to you guys. And it was like, okay, so that's what it takes to really lock it in for the game. You know what I mean? And what it's going to require at the next level and what's going to be expected out of you. So after he said that, I think that was my sophomore year, it was like, okay, like if you're going to do this, there's another switch you kind of got to flip. And so he taught me just all those basic things of what it is going to take to just not even get by at the next level, but just the prereqs to the next level of baseball. So he's had incredible influence on really what I do on a daily basis, and how I've conducted myself through the years.
I remember talking to Greg Geary. It would have been right before you were going to Nebraska. And I was doing some of the radio baseball broadcasts at the time. I think I was pretty new at that time too. And he had mentioned, hey, he was happy that I was going to be doing those games. And he said, well, two guys you need to keep an eye on is Kyle Perry and Drew Gillen. And I remember you guys came up together and you fit in so quickly. But I know for guys of your caliber, when you go to that next level, especially as a Division I guy, there were probably a lot of times where you could just get by on just shoving a fastball past a guy, location regardless, where it's just you're shoving it. You probably in your head know, maybe not getting away with that at the next level, but there is that transition. And I watched one of your high school games, and you could tell, this guy's going to be exciting. And I'm curious, when did you have the moment in college where you're like, oh, this is different?
Oh man, that's funny. That's funny because I was always the Drew's shadow. He was always the freaking. I mean, he was the golden child.
Well, he played shortstop, and
Yeah, yeah.
shortstops are
Oh,
athletes.
yeah.
Pitchers are not, as we've always been told, right?
Right. And he was just the example for everybody in our grade and the years young. I mean, like he was the poster child for how it's done.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I was always the recluse, and he was the okay. So, love Drew. He's still one of my best friends to this day. He's the best. But yeah, it's the moment in college when that really came about. It was probably, I think it was taught to me by Spencer Schwellenbach, in the Red White series, in the fall of my freshman year, and he's now one of the hottest rookies in all the game in the big leagues for the Braves. But he took me dead central on like a back foot slider that, shout out Colby Gomez. I struck him out in high school on the same pitch 4 times in the same game on that very pitch. And looking back, it wasn't that crazy. It was just kind of a little loopy little slider that would go to his back foot and he would chase it because he was sitting fastball the whole time. I don't know why. Yeah. Anyways, but that's what I threw one of those pitches expecting, I think it was a 2-strike count, and he just, I don't know how he did it, barrels it up to dead center. And he's trotting the bases. I'm like, how the hell did he hit that out? But that was kind of like, oh, okay, guys are a little different. And Schwelly, he's different in his own right. But when the season came around, I got to start the one of the first home games against Air Force, and I was just throwing fastballs by them, and they were running up and out of the zone, and they were chasing it. They're righties. So like my first start was great. Like I was like, okay, it's just like high school. And so then, or I guess that wasn't my first start. That was my first home start. My first start was against Oregon State, and that was, I guess, welcome to college. When
I feel like every pitcher that went through that Oregon State series, no matter how good their career went, that was usually an eye-opening experience.
humbling. I remember I struck the first guy I faced out in that game on like 3 or 4 pitches, and I was like, these guys suck. I think I only went like maybe 2 innings. So no, it's I mean, my entire college career was just a humbling experience, but I don't care who you are, you have an experience like that, and it grows you up and you gain a lot of perspective. And I think my attitude is a hell of a lot better now because of my experiences in college, and everything wasn't easy. And every time it seemed to be going well for me, it was like, humbling. And that's what the game does. The game, I like to say, the game of baseball is the game of life in every aspect. So it's like, and I'm only 24. I know that sounds like a pretty deep statement, but every time it seemed like the game was going great for me, and it would always knock you back down and give you a little slice of humble pie.
Well, you say you're only 24, but I would challenge most 24-year-olds who have played any sport collegiately that had to go through the physical setbacks that you had to go through as early as your freshman year. And so I don't think you're off there by saying you're only 24. So what do I know? I think you're 24 of age, but I think your experience is probably that of more of someone in their mid 30s because of a lot of the life lessons that, let's face it, most 18, 19, 20-year-olds competing at that level don't have to experience. And sometimes that's just the luck of the draw as you experienced it.
Yeah, my hairline's showing it, dude. You'd think I look freaking 30-some.
Hey, it's always okay to take the hair off, man. See, look at that. Look at that. I'm 45. Okay, yeah, you still got some coverage
the
there.
power rallies, it's all genetics. My mom's family really screwed me there.
You just call it the power rallies?
My brother has the same thing going on too.
The power rallies. I love it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Gap to gap. But I mean, yeah, my freshman year was like the most normal year of college I had. It seemed like, until like my 5th and 6th year, where I got a chance to, spike up every day.
Yeah.
But I, right away, I was like, I established myself. I remember like my spring leading into the season, like I guess the winter leading into my freshman season, I did really well indoors, and like I was feeling amazing and just kind of doing a lot of the same things that I did in high school, and getting results to follow. And so my freshman year, little bit of starting, a little bit out of the pen, like it was just kind of all over the place. But looking back, like the experience I had as a freshman is so rare, especially nowadays with the portal and NIL and the turnover with each year. Like freshmen don't get many chances, and I got a lot of chances my freshman year. So for that, I'm grateful for. But that was what I thought was normal at the time. And then I just remember like the first inkling of any arm pain I really ever had was I was playing catch with my brother at Millard South in the off season, and I was just light catch, and I felt like just a nagging, like something was there in my elbow where I would just release the ball. It wasn't like on the layback, like I would release the ball and then it would like kind of flare up. So it was, looking back, it definitely wasn't like a UCL. Like the UCL wasn't what was mad.
Yeah.
It was something in there that just fell off and causing like a little pinch at the end. So turned out there was a little piece of calcified bone that I had in my elbow. Like it was like a perfect little round, like a little mini plate of bone. That's what it looked like a dinner plate that was like hanging around my elbow and like pissing off the UCL and like the other things around my elbow. And which is why the weird pain, looking back now, knowing what a UCL, pain feels like, and like what it feels like to throw with it being totally off the bone. It definitely wasn't like the UCL itself, but so that was kind of crazy. They said it was probably like a falling on your elbow and on the hardwood in basketball, like that might have chipped off a piece of bone that you wouldn't even have felt in real time because you're always on the floor and everything. And like a bone wasn't broken, just a little like chip that might have been just a little baby chip, and then it ended up in the elbow. Anyways, so that's what I found out. And that was the first time when I got in the MRI room and stuff. And They said nothing to operate on, like let's just rehab your forearm and your shoulder and get that stronger going into the season. And we did. So for going into the spring of 2020, I was probably the strongest I had ever been, even to this point. Like I was in a great routine. I was waking up at like 4:30 every morning.
Ooh.
Because I was in the young guy lifting groups, and like, so I found a cool routine in it. And then we go into the season, and our Friday guy, Gareth Stroh, goes down in like the first couple of weekends with elbow pain. And so I kind of slid in from a relief role after the first few weekends into the Friday guy role. And that was like the most confident, the most like I'm him sort of situation where it was like, this is great. This is exactly what I expected college to be.
Yeah.
Like I got my routine. Like my teammates trust me. I get along with my teammates, and I'm getting to showcase my skills and the reason why I came to college on Friday nights now. And so I pitch against Columbia, had a good outing in the home opener. We go into we're supposed to play Garrett Kosis and Wichita State that following Friday, and on the Wednesday or Thursday we were supposed to be loading the bus to Kansas. We get told that we aren't traveling and that COVID is in full effect, and the rest is history. Long story short, everyone doesn't know what the hell is going on. It's COVID. Right. We all remember the time, right? March of 2020, wicked times. And so spent my 20th birthday at home, wasn't throwing. No one was freaking throwing. No one was knowing what the hell to do, right? And so summer rolls around, June or July rolls around, and I get an opportunity to play in Fremont for the Moo. Great, which it was awesome. Still felt physically great, okay, what the unknown is here, whatever.
Did you guys play at Moeller, by the way?
Which one is that?
The short left field porch, but it's got the wall, the tall wall.
Is the one the field in Fremont?
Yeah.
It was cool. That was where my first workout was with them.
Did they ever let you take any hacks? Because I would hope that you could maybe maybe send one oppo over that wall, because you still have a little bit of that in you.
No, all my oppo was just freaking get it over there, get it through the 6-hole. I was never swinging oppo for power. Never was a power guy. But yeah, so we went and worked out with them and had a couple games. I came out of the pen the first game in Hastings against the Sod Busters down there, and I came in a closing role and felt great. Shut the door. Felt so good physically. I mean, unbelievable physically. I was just letting it freaking eat. And I remember talking to Coach Christie after that. He was like, yeah, dude, you're never coming out of the pen in a summer ball game ever again. Like, tell your coach you need to start, or I'm going to get a hold of him. So then the following time I start, and then struck out like my first 4 batters, and then let one go, and my UCL just goes. And I'm like, yeah, it definitely was my UCL. Like that was pain. It just felt like a little like firecracker went off my elbow.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. I got to get surgery on my UCL. It's par for the course for any pitcher. Okay, that's just so whatever. I get it. And then so, man, I don't need to freaking. Do you know the story? We come back 2021, and Coach Bolt tells me like, "Hey, you kick rehab's ass. Like you're gonna have a shot to pitch for us by the end of the year," which was 11 or 10 months out from surgery. Cool, great. Like little carrot to dangle out there for me, which motivates me, and Bolt knew that. And so ended up making my first start after that first surgery. I think like 9 months and a week after I made that start up in Rutgers.
It was in the pod. Still to this day, the weirdest game, and I know Ben would agree, the weirdest game we have ever broadcasted.
That was the weirdest
game the knobless bat that they were using?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
And that game ended up going 14 innings.
Yeah, we missed our flight. We had to stay an extra day.
Unbelievable. And I pitched the first inning. Like it was the weirdest day.
It was exciting. And I remember that, because I remember going to that day. We were so pumped for you, because like I cannot believe that Kyle's finally getting the start. And I think we were all like you of, is he really going to be able to come back? I mean, because that was obviously ahead of schedule of what most people on average come back from the UCL. And I remember hearing that from Jeff and Will earlier in the year of, well, he wouldn't go on record and talk to the media about it, at least early in the year. But I remember him saying, man, we're keeping our fingers crossed, but he's coming along a lot faster. So we could get him back. But we we essentially filed that under the, okay, we'll believe that when we see it. And I remember in that pod when we got into, I think it was when we got to New Jersey, is when we had heard that, yeah, KP's going to get a shot to go, and that was, we couldn't wait to see that. I mean, we always felt good for any of you guys that had a great moment or were on a heater, but for you especially, because we had got to know you quite a bit, and knowing what you'd gone through, that was really cool. And then, of course, yeah, as we mentioned, 14 innings later and a missed flight and a knobless bat and the guy bringing back the knob and saying, "No, I have the knob right here." I mean, you talk about some really weird shit happening in a baseball game. That took the cake.
No doubt. Yeah, man. I looking back at that, I can't believe like I came back that early and they gave me a shot that early. And the first pitch I threw back from Tommy John the first time around was a freaking rope right back at my head up the middle for a single. So like it's just such a bizarre deal when you
Yeah.
just break all these moments down. But yeah, it was cool to be back. I went 1 inning and like 20 some pitches or whatever. It was great. It was so cool. What an awesome, deal. I remember people super happy we won the game after about 4 hours worth
Yeah.
of game time. But no, it was cool, and I got a lot of neat texts from people and people being proud of me. So that was a cool deal. But then like I followed up the next week and started, and I just increased that pitch count. And
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what. I remember I started the game. We clinched the Big Ten in
Yeah.
Indiana against Ohio State in that pod. Funny year because it was only Big Ten, just Big Ten schedule. But then I pitched against Michigan, and that was
Mm-hmm.
the best I felt. Like I just increasingly felt better and better and better, and like my confidence was growing with that because it's like, okay, I'm physically showing I can do it. Like so mentally, I'm back sort of situation, like
Yeah.
I'm not feeling any sort of fatigue or anything off of this surgery, like great shape. And so after a pitch against Michigan, our next game would have been that game against Arkansas.
Yep.
And they were and so they kept me in that regional, like, okay, like just depending on who we beat, when we win, if we win, like you're gonna have a game to start. That was like the
Yeah.
plan, to where just like sit tight. Like we're not gonna bring you out of the pen. So I didn't visit the pen at all that entire regional, which was just cool because I was just being a spectator. Every game I wasn't starting, it was like, okay, I'm gonna be waiting till whatever game. So long story short, that game ends up being freaking Arkansas. So I was told when Shea Shannon got the ball against NJIT that morning, on the second to last day of the regional, we had to beat NJIT to then get to Arkansas, who we then had to beat twice if we wanted to win the regional. And so they tell me that morning that Shea's got the ball against NJIT. We take care of business. You got the Razorbacks tonight. I was like, oh, okay, like let's go. Like that's the dream, whatever. And then so I tried to find shade that entire morning and kind of keep my energy levels down, and I wasn't feeling too anxious the entire day until we win the game. And then it's like, okay, but we're hanging out in the Arkansas track and field indoor, and so yeah, I get to pitch against them and through 75 pitches, which hindsight's undefeated. Probably not the best choice to go back out for the fifth inning, but then Spencer came in and shut the door, and it was a historic win for the boys.
Just bear with me on the camera thing. I know that's happening, but as long as you can still hear me, we're gonna keep this going.
Yeah, you're good.
I'm glad you brought up the Arkansas thing, because the that was one of the craziest environments that I think anybody's probably experienced in your time. I remember the Mojo crap going on where he was getting the business from the hog pen. Did he or did he not flip off the crowd? All that stuff going
He
on.
didn't. He didn't.
Yeah,
For the
I
record,
didn't think he did, but
that was a Twitter lie where they just want
yeah.
an Arkansas fan knew how to rile up his fan base, and he got it done.
Yes, and all it takes is one, and you know how that spills over. But
Yeah.
when you guys were in that regional, because that was such a fun follow for people who had not maybe been following the baseball team all year, whether you were or you weren't, everybody jumped on in the Arkansas regional. And describe to me just how that dugout was during that regional, how the clubhouse, if you will, was. What was the back and forth, especially when you guys would play Arkansas? Because you guys had, that was when we first had realized the gritty over pretty, the don't care mantra after getting swept by Rutgers at home, and then you guys go back and take it to them in Jersey. All of those different things that team seemed to portray. How did that go over in Fayetteville?
That was just such a cool team in general because like the makeup of the team is really what you need to know to like understand the vibe of the clubhouse. Like, yes, like I mean that the guys that were older than me, because I was a junior that year, like they were
Mhm.
two years older, one at least 1 year older, like all those main guys like Hallmark and Roscom and Chance Roach and Max Schreiber, and I mean I'm just listing off every name that
Right.
comes to mind, but all those old guys like Mojo too, Joe Acker, etc. Whatever. Um, like all those guys that they were together at least a year or two or three in some cases, like before I even got to Nebraska. It's like those older guys, they were like this, and they were boys. And so my whole time getting to that point was just like, okay, like get along with these guys, like freaking be. And so like that relationship built in my 2 years leading up to that junior year. And I was hurt that year, and COVID brought us together quite a bit too, because like I remember after that day before we were going to Wichita, like we all went back home, and I remember Roscom was on the couch like with tears in his eyes, and like
Yeah.
so was Joey Acker. Like all those guys were like, dude, it's over and it's out of our control. Like everyone remembers that moment. And so I think the understanding with that team, like on really such a deep level, like don't take this game for granted. Like there could literally be one day that it just gets taken away from you and there's nothing you did wrong. Like you can give everything to the game and it can still bite you in the ass. So like that, just kind of that mindset and like the don't care, like that team, we were tight, man. Everybody on that freaking team were tight. And the don't care was like, dude, freaking let it loose, and whatever
Yeah.
happens, happens. Straight up don't care. And Hallmark said it in that interview and was all
Yep.
dramatic about it. But that's really what that team was like, truly.
The camera thing situated. All right, cool. Okay, so that environment, KP, I mentioned the hog pen, the mojo thing. Was it more the crowd than it was the Arkansas players as far as a little bit of the back and forth? Because there were so many moments in a couple of those games where there would be a bat flip after a home run, but it wouldn't be necessarily be a player looking at their own dugout. It'd be looking at the opposition's dugout. But we know that environment, it can stoke a lot of emotion too, especially if you haven't experienced it like you guys hadn't experienced it at the at Baum Stadium there.
I mean, there was no like the I think there was like a common understanding, one because of Van Horn and Bolt's relationship and their history. I think there was just like a common unspoken respect between the teams, and I don't know what, like if that happens a lot, but like no one had to say it. It was just like, and I also think it was like a common respect because I think there was an understanding between both sides that one, they didn't deserve a team like Nebraska,
Yeah.
that 2021 team ending up in their regional. Okay, the first overall seed should get the easiest track to the the CWS, or at least to the super regional
Right.
every single time. They're not always going to make it out. That's baseball, but that even more so to the point, like it's baseball. Like you got to help them out, and they do it usually every year. But for Arkansas to get us, and for us to be the two seed, which was what mathematically like making us the last two seed in the entire
Yeah.
tournament, right? Like that, so bizarre because I believe we were ranked going into that last week. So
Mhm.
makes no sense. But anyways, made for a great story. So I think there is that mutual respect um, between the two clubs. But yeah, with like the whole thing with Mojo and their fans, just the way they're notoriously known for being rowdy and just crazy and bought in, and all those things that make it such an electric baseball environment at Baum Walker. But I mean, there was never like, do you remember like the whole Miley Cyrus thing? You remember that? Like you don't
No.
remember about? Okay, so
Uh-uh.
when I was announced the starter, so stupid, so silly. When I was
Oh,
announced
wait,
the
yeah.
starter,
Yeah.
yeah, some guy dug up my tweets all the way from 2014.
Yeah.
Like me myself, I couldn't go back into my Twitter all the way to 2014 because there were too many tweets. Like, so that guy, like that just shows you the level of commitment that these dudes were showcasing down there in Fayetteville. So,
And I know someone like you,
credit
though,
to them.
probably appreciated that, and they picked the wrong person to try to get in the head because I'm assuming you just applauded that. You're like, good on you, man.
Well, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, definitely. I was, and so when before the technical difficulties, I was talking about how we were stashed up in the indoor track and field facility there at Arkansas, and which I guess is like one of the best in the country. It was super sweet.
Mm.
But we were laying on like the mats, where they do the high jump and all that good stuff
Yep.
and land on them. So we're sitting on those mats, and I was trying to take a nap with my Jimmy Johns before the Arkansas game, and I got a notification like, "You seeing this or whatever?" And some dude had the tweet pulled up, and then before you know it, Miley Cyrus posted that day. I got like I can't remember what reporter or what media personality tweeted it out, but like said, this guy took a shot at Perry, and Miley Cyrus just tweeted this, like, and it was
Okay, and
Miley Cyrus and somebody up next to a red like school bus that's been like repainted that said like big red on the front of the bus where it would say school bus.
yeah.
And so it was like, ooh, does Miley want me?
for
And then
for for people who don't know this part, though, the tweet said what?
oh, so yeah, in 2014, it was after she did her infamous like wrecking ball
Wrecking ball. Yeah, yeah,
in her skimmies or whatever they were, and I tweeted out like, I don't care, because she was getting a whole bunch of flack. I remember.
yeah.
Yeah, and like I think everybody remembers that, and she still probably gets flack because of it. But I said I don't care. I still think Miley Cyrus is hot or something like that. Yeah, stand by it, man.
I love that she got involved. That's how much
Well, I
fun
don't
this thing
know.
was.
I don't know. I would
I
love
bet
to
she
get her
did.
side of it. Maybe with the bananas, we come to a point
Yeah.
where maybe she's in the mix, which would be so sick because I could have a one-on-one
Yeah,
and
well,
come clean. But
careful, you've got a girlfriend, so,
I
you
do,
know.
yes. No, I wasn't gonna. No, I wasn't. Not in that. I was just, hey, but did you do this on accident, or
Right,
was this
right,
total coincidence? Just
yeah.
that. Nothing inappropriate. Come on.
Someone coming to your defense in a moment where they were trying to get in your head. That would have been really
Right.
cool if
Right.
Miley Cyrus if she's one of us,
Well, I didn't know she
she's
would
looking
be
out
that
for us.
interested in college baseball, but
Well, well, we've seen Livy Dunn was interested in college baseball, and then we found out why. But that's
yeah, 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 yeah. I wouldn't say I'm in the same league as Skeens.
yeah. Hey, we'll see what this area takes you to with Savannah Bananas. I do want to get to that, Kyle. But the other question I want to ask you, because you brought up Jeff Christie, you
Mhm.
played for two different coaches, and you played under three pitching coaches: Ted Silva, and then obviously Jeff Christie and Rob Childers. I I can't say enough about all three of them. Some of my favorite bus conversations coming from the Phoenix airport to our hotel was with sitting next to Ted Silva. Ted Silva was interested in just about any. I remember I got something as minute as TSA pre-check, and he was asking me about how, okay, did you, because I didn't join the flight. I think I got there just before you guys did, so I was waiting for you guys. And he was asking me about my trip, and I told him, "Oh, it was really easy. I got TSA pre-check," and he wanted to know everything there was to know about it. And then he asked the bus driver was given a couple of announcements before we took off from the Phoenix airport, and then Ted Silva was asking, "All right, what are we watching?" It was some type of safety video that they had to put on, but Ted was excited. He thought we were turning on a movie. Ted is just one of the most randomly funny dudes. There was one day I was wearing, I don't even know what shirt I was wearing in the hotel, and in the middle of a conversation we're having probably about you guys, he stopped and goes, "Hey, where'd you get that shirt? I like that shirt. That's pretty cool." Yeah, he was great. Jeff Christie, I had so many morning hotel workouts, and I'm not trying to sound like a workout guy, but I'd be running on the treadmill, and then he would run on one next to me, and then we would just be shooting the bull then. And then, of course, Rob Childers, who probably my favorite story with Rob is this year playing in the NIL golf tournament. I was in Rob's group, Ben, myself, Rob. Rob, I think, used 3 clubs. I think he used his putter. I think he used a wedge at one point, and then his 5. And he just kept calling it the choke down 5 wood. On a par 3, 125-yard par 3, he used his choke down 5, and he knocked it stiff. And just his demeanor and his connection with all you guys, but then just with us, and then the fans that were a part of that golf event as well, and a lot of the donors. Rob is in a level of his own as well. So you got to experience all 3 of these personalities, and more importantly, all these teachings as well.
All right. Let's work from the ground up here.
I know I threw a lot at you there. I had to give my experience because they're all 3 just incredible human beings.
Quite the characters you're working with there.
Yeah.
No doubt. I didn't know that about Rob, and that's how he golfs, but that's how I golf.
Yeah, just ask him about the choke down 5.
Love that. I love that. He's the freaking man. All right, so Ted Silva. The first thing he ever said to me in person, we were down in the Gordon at the bottom of those steps. You been in the Gordon before?
Yeah.
So I'm at the bottom of the steps, and I'm sitting there with my parents. We're with Curtis Ledbetter. He was showing us around on the visit, and he comes down the stairs, and he has a little pep in his step. Oh, hey, guys! You got Kyle! You can throw strikes in your sleep! And 16-year-old me was flattered.
Sure.
24-year-old me looking back, boy, Ted Silva, first ballot bullshitter. First ballot bullshitter. And I let you talk, and I didn't want to interrupt you because that's my point exactly. He wanted to know about your TSA freaking pre-check. First ballot bullshitter. I think that's the best way to bet. Our relationship wasn't the best. I think he hated me. But there was a mutual respect. He wouldn't say he hated me. We just had little personality conflicts here and there.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
I had a very weird freshman year. My freshman year was filled with shit that we don't even got to talk about. Yeah. Just crazy. It was outrageous. Personally, my baseball wise, it was off the rocker. But he and I mean, dealing with each other every day, I don't think, I'm sure I gave him plenty of reason to be pissed off at me, and as a freshman and being bombarded and kind of overwhelmed with life, it was a funny year for the both of us. So
yeah.
To say that, the first ballot BSer,
I love that.
Theodore Silva, but I hope he's well. Jeff Christie, the Silverback, he's the freaking man. He is the freaking man. I love Coach Christie. I'm so glad he landed on his feet at Nebraska Wesleyan, and I just texted him last week, and I hope he's doing great. But his was such an interesting, point of view, getting taught by a catcher about pitching, and he did it. He was, if Joe Mauer didn't exist, we're talking to a big leaguer that's coaching us, and Joe Mauer kept him from being in the league in the Twins organization, for being such a durable catcher and such a, obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer. But, Jeff Christie was knocking on the door. So we knew that he had been there, and he has the history as a Husker, and he's won championships as a Husker, been to Omaha as a Husker. Like, you can't not respect guys like that. And he was in such an interesting position to teach pitchers how to pitch, and I think he did a great job of getting through to us and building those relationships, and that's such a big part of the battle, as being a coach at any level. But for him, he did such a great job with us. We all love him, and there was a change that needed to be made when it happened, and that's what ended up happening. And I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision for Coach Bolt, but I think he's going to do great. I think he's a great coach. I think he could help in many different areas if pitching isn't his calling. So sad to see him go there. But Rob, what do we need to say about Rob? I mean, he's the GOAT, regardless of how you of how you twist it. He's the GOAT. Yeah. He's first ballot human being.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, just one of the I mean, I only knew him for 2.5 years or so, and one of the best men I've ever known. So, um, what's there to be said? But he's helped me out in such a big way, and he's really the reason that I'm moving down to Savannah at the end of the year. Had such a big help in that, and he's helped so many others, not just me. And I think so many other guys have the same opinion as me about him. Just first ballot human, all around great. I mean, he knows when to separate baseball, family, friendships, and
Yeah.
just it's like he's lived a bunch of lives, and he's quite the mentor. Such a role model for us young guys, and I know every single kid that comes through there while he's coaching is just going to be a better man because of him, and obviously other things, but he's going to have such a role in all their lives that it's incredible. It's incredible how he does it, and he builds those connections. But yeah, such a great guy.
Darren and Will, I know, again, baseball dudes, first and foremost, but different leadership styles. And not saying that's bad for either one or great for either. I would say good in their own way. I would say this, and I want to know if you agree. When I knew that the Dodgers came calling for Darren Erstad, I thought, uh-oh, I could see Nebraska losing Darren Erstad, because to me, when I've been around Darren, when I've talked to Darren, a guy that talks baseball better than anyone, he to me seems like if he ever wanted to do that, he would be perfect in a major league dugout because he can manage. Will Bolt to me reminds me more of what you typically see in college baseball. And the guys both know the game extremely well. I think they get across to their players in their own way, but completely different. Is that a fair, long statement?
It's a very fair statement. It's funny because all that went down with the Dodgers and Erstad being potentially a manager when I was like early on in high school. So
Yeah.
like not even thinking about that. And I just remember like thinking like, whoa, that's freaking like you gotta have some pull. And like 13, 14-year-old me knew like that's impressive. And I was really just like I had mentioned before, like I didn't know how any of like the recruiting stuff worked or
Mhm.
any of that, like just figuring that just kind of works itself out, which inevitably it did, but not that simple usually. But like Erstad, another first ballot human
Yeah.
I've come across. I mean, he freaking Shea Shannon and I were his last two recruits or players that played for him to play as Huskers up to last year. And dude, I think that 1 year with Erstad changed me as a person, as a
Mhm.
man, really. Just like I think I caught myself so many times after Erstad, like walking around like overbite or underbite, whatever that is, that he would like pissed off, a total red ass like
Yeah.
mentality that
Yeah.
like watching him go about his business like inspired me to just like find that fire within.
Mhm.
And I always admired that about him, and I was always up doing being bat boy. I think we called it bats and hats as a freshman because my first game that I did bats and hats with, we put up 7 runs in the first inning
Mhm.
of I think it was opening day against UC Riverside, and I have a whole different story with Darren Erstad and Troy Percival before the first game of college that I ever had, um, but I was always up in the front step with Erstad, watching his every freak, watching how he
Yeah.
watched the game, watching how he would react to bad calls by an umpire or unique plays. But the one thing I always freaking noticed about him, and you said that he talks baseball with the best of them, and he sees the game before it happens.
Yeah.
And it sounds. I remember just one of the times. Okay, really cool story for Mojo too, and he doesn't even know about this. But I'm sitting there doing bats and hats, and Erstad watches a pitch go by, and nothing happened. Okay, nothing happened in the play, and he yells to Mojo. He's like, "Hey, Mojo, bunt!" And Mojo lays down a pretty good bunt. The next pitch, and guy throws it away. Mojo ends up on third, and I'm just like, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like not only that he was he made him make a play,
Yeah.
but the play unraveled
Mhm.
And like the third baseman or whoever fielded the ball was not ready to field a bunt, throws it away, and Mojo ends up on third. And here
Man.
we are with a runner. Like that's like one of those pause moments. And like I remember there would be multiple times where a guy would hang, you see a bunch of mistakes by pitchers, and I'd be on the front or near him because I would have to be down for bats and hats, and say a guy hangs a pitch, he would say shit while the ball hasn't even been released out of and the thing would get freaking tatered.
Yeah.
I was like, what? So there were so many of those moments just in that 1 year under him where one, it told me I don't know shit.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this game. That guy was 1-1, had a what 13-year MLB career, was a multi-time all-star, like whatever.
Yeah.
Unbelievable track record, but like him as a guy, as a competitor, as a human, I built a really great connection with him, and I freaking love that man. And I only had 1 year for him,
Yeah.
and he did a lot for me. But then going on to Bull, I remember I met him at his introductory press conference. I was in town in 2019. And it sucked to see Erstad leave, but then when I got to, it's like, okay, sophomore year's coming, like
Yep.
before you know it. And so got to meet Bolt there, and seemed like a great guy. And yeah, you're right. He's more of the college game than Erstad. But yeah, knows so much about the game. I got to see him for 5 freaking years. So
Right.
he just got better as a coach and relating to his players every year. And as a guy that didn't have the playing record that Erstad had, he obviously had the historic record career at Nebraska, and that was really where it came to an end for him. So he had that going for him playing wise, but like he wasn't 1-1. Like you could tell, like he had to grind for what he got
Yeah.
out of the game, and he has a good influence on his players. But definitely he understands what needs to be done at this level to win, and those aren't easy decisions to make. And I just got to see him get better with each year, and so I think he's gonna find some good success sticking around.
We got to get to the Savannah Bananas thing because this is awesome, and I think this is so much fun. It is just this is great, and that thing is getting so much bigger. But real quickly, because I would be crazy if I didn't bring this up. We mentioned a lot about the 2021 season and that Big Ten regular season title. Last year, going all the way through, losing early and being able to climb all the way back and winning a Big Ten tournament title in Omaha with that type of crowd that was there. We saw Nebraska with that opportunity to do it. Would have been back in, what was that,
2019.
2019, yes, 2019 before, yep, against Ohio State. You guys get it done, and so many different heroes in this one too. For you, especially to be on the mound and in those moments, in that moment too, just time has passed now. I'm assuming you've had a chance to reflect on it, but what do you take away from that memory and those memories in that tournament alone the most?
It's so crazy, man, because like I had stages, like there's layers to my career at Nebraska, like in just my role on the team and like my influence and like whether I was seen as a leader or what, right? And so like it wasn't like I had roles to play,
Mhm.
but like you got to kind of conduct yourself in a different way when you're a freaking 6 year, been through the ringer, like battered, bruised, sticking it out, like you kind of take on like a hellfire and brimstone type of
Yeah.
armor to you where it's like you can't be broken. You can't be, you can never show your teammates any sort of weakness. Like it's wild being that guy and having freshmen that look up to you and that you have to show every single day. That's how you do it. And I never was that guy.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So like that year was so unique to me because even my fifth year, I was coming off of a surgery. Like, so like I was rehabbing most of the year. I didn't have like a full year to like, and it's like last year was that year where I had a full year with that team that got to know me, that,
Mhm.
and so I had just a special connection with that team, different than the others, just because of the situation we were in and the situation I was in, and how I was seen by my teammates and coaches and what their expectations were. Like I remember that was like like fun KP. We love him, but
Yeah.
there's going to be more times this year. Like you got to lock it in and be the example, which just was never my role. Anyways, I digress, but we were, the Big Ten tournament, it was such a gut punch because going into the tournament, there was no, the trap would have been to know that we were locked in for a regional, and then to go out and lay an egg. That was the trap. And so after that first game, it was like, dude, that was like, as a team, we're all like, we're in the bus, like looking around, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What just happened?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Like that, not just because of like the tournament and our standing in the tournament. Like that could have been, if we were to have that performance, say a semifinal game where we swept the floor going all the way to the semifinal or what, and we do that, we would have had the same reaction. Like,
sure,
that we're so much better than that, guys. Like, you shitting me, boys? Like, I remember like some of the leaders on the team, we just texted like, hey, let's call a meeting. We're just going to call a meeting in the morning after, and we just like, we're all sitting together and no one's saying anything. We're just looking around like, it was bizarre because it wasn't like anybody was chomping at the bit to talk. It was just like, it needed to happen. We just like, let's put our heads together. Let's, and I remember Josh Karen, which is hilarious because he just
did okay.
He was like, guys, like, let's go, man. We got one opportunity at this. And Josh is not a vocal guy. Like and it's funny because like when he first came in, I was like, you know how Cody Bellinger, he's hot in the news. You know how he conducts himself?
Yeah.
And like a lot of people like are like, dude, Cody Bellinger, are you high out in the field? Like that's just like Karen. Like he's just like, he's so like here. We're like, this dude is way too relaxed, And so he's like, guys, like, let's wake up a little bit. Yeah. Like we know we're gonna be going to the tournament. Like our goals are still out in front of us. But like no one else is in this position where people are coming out to watch them. And that was just embarrassing. We all know that. That was just embarrassing what happened last night. So like let's win tonight. Let's just win tonight and then stack games. And then it was my turn to talk. I was just like, guys, selfishly, I'm like, this is the best damn time you can, like, my favorite time of the year was freaking going to that Big Ten tournament. Yeah. My freshman year, going to the Big Ten tournament, rooming with Aaron Polensky, that was like the greatest core memory of college. One of them that I have, like, was staying all the way to the last day of the tournament in Omaha, where we know we're just 45 minutes down the road. We're good. Like when we're out of here, like, and that year was a very similar year where we knew we were getting into the tournament. But not until really late into the tournament where we had some statement wins and then made it to the championship where it was like solidified. But that was the coolest freaking time. And I was telling them, guys, we missed the tournament last year. It's not a guarantee.
Yep.
Like what would we be doing for ourselves? We put all this work in to freaking go lose 2 games.
Yeah.
2 in Q in Omaha in our backyard? No. Why would we do that? And it's just like, guys, like not even the game. Take the game away from it. After we have breakfast, go up to your freaking rooms. Just take in the moment. Look out your window. Look around. We could be here for a week. What more do you want? What more do you want? And so I'm like, and that was kind of it was more of a sentimental, like, selfish, like, hey guys, this is the best time ever. Let's just freaking stick around.
There's no ass chewing going on in this thing.
No, it was just a wake up, guys.
It was reasoning. You guys you're reasoning with the rest of the guys.
It was a full team dud that we laid that night before. My energy level was freaking down. I looked back at the game. I didn't get in the game. I was like, God, I was kind of a dud that game. I kind of sucked. I wasn't lifting anybody up, Ironically, my thumb, my throwing thumb, I burnt it on a mug the night before we left for Omaha. I'm not like right? I know it adds to the,
Why not?
the stupidness. It adds to the stupidity, but it was a mug. It had metal on it. It was in the middle of the night. I needed to gargle my mom is a nurse, so just get this. I was having a toothache. Had to gargle with warm water. I put the freaking 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I put the mug of water in the microwave and microwaved it for 10 seconds, whatever.
Yeah.
Take it out. The handle part of the mug was metal. It didn't spark in the microwave or anything. It was dark. My roommates are sleeping. It was dark. I was trying to keep it quiet and freaking grab this mug, drop it. My thumb instantly starts to blister, and as well as like these two fingers over here. I'm not even kidding. This is not, and so we work out in the morning. We work out in the morning that the next day before we bus to Omaha for the tournament. And I got my hand bandage up, and Rob comes over. The hell's this? I'm like, you're gonna think I'm lying to you, or like I wasn't drunk and doing stupid shit. This is what happened.
Yeah.
And he takes a look at it. He's like, are you gonna be able to pitch? And I'm like, I hope. And so like, but no, I was out of commission that entire tournament. And I was having a rough go that season, just in big situations. I just was. Statistically, it wasn't great last year, but which makes the championship that much sweeter. But it was not a fun year for me. And it showed. But at that point, I'm like, I know like there's a big bubble here. Like I'm not pitching.
Yeah.
In any situation. So like that was just a perfect storm for like, wow. And I still ended up getting in the game when we were up like a few against Indiana.
Yep.
And so this is so stupid. It sounds like I'm making excuses. I swear to God, I'm not, Nick. That bubble popped during Indiana. I had like a little crust up here, like where I was like hooking the ball onto it, and I was able to like rip my fastball like I normally do.
Right. Yeah.
It pops mid-game, and then I start spraying and praying. I couldn't throw a strike against those guys. I don't know if you remember it, but like I literally am in the game. I get like 2 outs quick.
I was just excited to see you in there, though.
Yeah, my thumb slices, and so like now I got no leverage on the ball, and I started leaving everything arm side high, and I didn't know where it was going, and I damn near walked in a run after getting the first two. Like it was bad. It was like my freshman level when I would struggle bad, but it wasn't like mentality where I was.
Yeah, you're like, oh man, come on, figure it out.
Like I'm getting it here, and it's just like whoop, and just riding away, and that's what. Pitched one inning in the tournament. So be it. It was great. I'm so happy I got out of the inning unscathed. That would have been. I would have gotten booed off the field, and rightfully so. But anyways, we end up freaking just piece by piece in it. Will Walsh has a heroic performance.
Yeah.
Sears freaking had a great performance against Purdue. So many great performances. We get to the championship game, and it's like it's right here. It's right here. We've been here before.
Yep.
Like now we're facing a lesser team. They had a top 25 offense in the country, and we had Brock.
Penn State was kind of a good story.
Yes, and they're on a heater. They were on a heater. But it was like, they weren't going to make it to the tournament. We were.
Yeah.
So like they had something different to play for than we did. Similar, very same situation as the Ohio State game, which was just bonkers. Because I'm like, dude, this is history literally repeating itself. And Jax Brockett comes out and just historic performance. I mean, that was just perfect because of it just put a bow on that tournament and how it started. Jax didn't have his best stuff in game 1 against Ohio State. Yeah. That game goes south quick. And then Gabe Swanson, Josh Caron. I mean, it was kind of a nerve-wracking first few innings because we weren't breaking through, but when we did, that was the coolest thing. That dog pile was pretty neat, man. It's a core memory in my life. I won't forget it.
Yeah. To wrap up with this, because this is the big news too. You are a Savannah Banana. So obviously a lot of questions that come with this. You mentioned Rob Childers had a big hand in this as well. How does this play out? How does this all come about to be part of now one of the most entertaining things, not just in sports, but in outdoor viewing entertainment that exists currently right now? You're smack dab in the middle of this now.
It's freaking crazy, isn't it, dude? So what happened was I wake up one morning and I have a missed call from Coach Childress, which is just he'll call me, bi-weekly or whatever. So not a huge deal. And he wakes up at the ass crack of dawn every morning he goes to bed at 7:30 right after he finishes his dinner, and then wakes up at 4, and then he rubs it into everybody that he wakes up early when really he's just falling asleep after dinner. Anyways, he's so stupid, but he called me at 5. No one's gonna be up at 5, right? So I wake up, and it's not the first time it's happened. Then what time are you waking up? Right. Geez, freaking waited 5 hours for you to call back. Yeah, no, I'm normal. I'm a normal person, Rob. But so I call him back, and he had sent me a text. I didn't check it. He had sent me a text of a screenshot from Tyler Gillum, the coach of the Bananas. That was hey, we're looking for one more pitcher for the tour in 2025. If you know anybody that meets this criteria as a pitcher, throw strikes, outgoing personality, whatever, all those were. I could look it up. But anyways, And so he says, "Is it cool if I put your name in?" And I was like, "Yes, like of course you can." And nothing, anything would ever come about it because it was a mass email. Obviously, it was a mass email sent out to a lot of coaches, and so um, Tyler Gillum, the coach of the Bananas, gets back to me and he texts me individually, like, "Hey man, like Coach Childress said that you would be interested in Banana Bowl in 2025. Like, anytime we can set up a call." And so we did. And long story short, sat on FaceTime with Coach Gillum for about an hour, and then his whole point was like he was like selling me on Banana Bowl. And I'm like, dude, you guys are impossible to miss. I see you freaking
Yeah.
like, and you're like trying to convince me to come play for you. Like, I thought it was going to be like, do you have what it takes to be a Banana?
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
none of that. It was none of that,
They're selling
which just
you.
adds to the most bizarre like thing that's ever happened to me. Because now I'm like, I didn't send a video in. I didn't
Okay.
try out. I didn't do anything to like say notice me. And so here I like, so if you got any ideas, Nick, I'd love to hear them because I don't have a video of me like out with stilts, out walking on stilts and throwing with them or anything. And so like, how do I go about this? And the best like, the best advice I've gotten is just go be yourself. And I'm like, myself isn't just freaking like, doesn't just scream like, oh, I'm built for Banana Ball. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm like, what do I do?
Do you? I know there's a lot of props, or I saw one guy wears a cowboy hat. The catcher will catch behind his back every now and then. There's a lot of acrobatic skill set that sometimes is involved. Let me ask you this: could you go out and pitch with maybe like a double beer foam dispenser and take
Hell
sips
yeah.
between? I mean, I'm not encouraging you to get inebriated. Maybe some type of fun headgear could be cool. I don't know. Cause yeah, I mean, Kyle, all I've seen from you is, straightforward on the mound, trying to be a strike thrower. So to come up with this alter ego to match
Right.
that skill set with something else, I feel like you're just going to have a dream in the next week or two, and it's just going to come to you.
I need to have it. I need to have that
Mhm.
dream, man, because I'm in search of that light bulb moment, man. We'll see. I mean, I had a gentleman talk to me and say that he'll donate his Husker Scarlet Red Stetson to go pitch in. I'm like, hell yeah, brother! Like, keep them coming. Keep them. I would love like if it takes something like what Bud Crawford does, like to represent Nebraska. That would
Yeah.
be cool. But I couldn't wear the Creighton Blue Jay. But um,
No.
yeah, I don't know, Nick. I don't know, man. But that
Did,
would
did,
take. I'd need to see a check or something
did they?
to
So the type of questions that were asked during this Zoom meeting,
yeah.
was it just essentially them talking about their product? Did they ask anything? Did they try to put you on the spot with anything? Any type of personality check or anything? Did they tell you to give them a joke or two or anything?
So that's where I'm like, I really wonder what Rob said to these guys. I like behind closed door. I don't because I no, there was nothing like I was expecting like a total like interview
Yeah.
kind of setup, but to no surprise, like the Bananas do it a bit differently, obviously.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're so successful and so genius in what they do with fan engagement and everything. Like they just the whole FaceTime was just telling me about how they do it and how like this is so attractive.
Yeah.
Like, look at this. And it was so cool because it's like, yeah, because I'm sure everyone's wondering what the hell are you guys doing to separate yourself other than the stuff you see on TikTok
Right.
and YouTube and all that good stuff. Like, because you were just constantly doing it and it's getting more and more popular. And he was just telling us like how they are fans first in everything they do.
Yep.
Every idea that comes about it is this putting the fans first? Like, are they going to enjoy it? And then just asking like they wanted to get to know me a little bit and what I do. And I told them about the radio. I told them what I do here in Waverly, and they thought it was super cool. And so they, long story short, they literally just was like, "Hey, man, like if you wanna do your radio and not play at Fenway Park, then cool." And
Well,
I'm like, I didn't say a negative thing about Banana Ball this entire time, and like that was the cherry on top. Was like, "Hey, I love that you're doing radio. That's freaking cool. How you're at
yeah.
the facility in Waverly, like love it. But I feel like that's going to be there when you
Yeah.
get back. But if you want to do your radio instead of playing at Fenway Park, like we totally get it, dude. And best of luck." I'm like, well, no shit, I want to play in Fenway.
Damn. So that was so at the end there, it wasn't the hard sell, it was the it's up to you, but
Like that, like this opportunity
I'm sure you'll never regret
is
this
not
for
going
the
to be
rest
here
of your
next year.
life.
Yeah, I won't forget. And so it's like, yeah, duh,
Wow.
duh. So then they're like, yeah, and then another guy in the front office, we FaceTimed later that day, and he just had a couple questions with like contract and like any questions I had, like, and so it happened like literally overnight where I slept on it the after that day, and I was like, okay, so this opportunity's here. So I
Yeah.
talked to like all my close friends and family, and I was like, all right, what advice you got? Like questions that come to mind because I'm sitting here like, the hell just hit me, right?
Did you
And
text
so
Schwelly or Cade and say, I know you guys got your thing going on up there, but I just signed me a contract too. What's up?
it's funny because Cade, I did talk to Cade a little bit about it because he played for the Bananas when they were like the summer ball team
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
CBL. And he and Tyler Gillum, the coach of the Bananas, was an assistant coach at South Mountain where he went to junior college. So they
Oh,
know
wow.
that. Hilarious you bring that up. But the day after I talked, or like Schwelly was like one of my first calls after I got off the phone with Gillum because I was like, well, this is happening.
Yeah.
And I had kept him posted like when they first reached out, like, dude, like this can't be real life. Like, what's going on? And then it actually happened. They sent the contract. So I call him and I talked to him and his soon to be wife, but fiance Shelby. And I was like, it's like, guys, well, they offered me, like, what do I do? And they're like, you got to do it. You got
Yeah.
to do it. And I'm like, of course you got to do it. And so like, it was great. And then I moved on to like the next friend. Same answer, probably like freaking 10 people in a row. My dad goes, I'm not going to tell you what to do, Kyle, but you got to do it.
No
So
pressure
I'm like,
there.
yeah, like, okay, so that's a pretty consistent answer. And then I called my boss here, founder of Empire Netting and Fence. Empire
Mhm.
Netting and Fence, they own the Wave. And so um I call it Matt Warner and I'm like, hey dude, like when you hired me, man, you said if there's any opportunities that come about that, would improve my life or my family's life or, what have you, like you better let me know or else I'm gonna be pretty pissed. And because I want you to succeed and go on and farther,
Yeah.
whatever.
Good on him.
And yeah, and so absolutely, he's one of the best. He's one of the best. And so I tell him, he's like, yeah, dude. And so I tell him, and he's crazy thrilled about it.
That's
And then I
great.
told my boss that I directly answer to here, and he was in that same boat, like, well, duh, you got to do it, but now I got to find someone to take your job. That's so that's
Temporarily, right?
right. And I'm like, dude, so everybody I talked to, all the way up from my closest friends to bosses, were like, dude, you got to do it.
Yeah.
So
So
it
when you
was a
go on
no-brainer.
when does it start? I don't want to ask you dollars and cents, but decent money? I mean, making more
Yeah,
than
yeah,
a
they
A
got
ball
yeah,
single
yeah,
A or rookie
yeah,
ball?
yeah. It's really cool too, because like there's opportunities to like make money too. Like
Sure.
s- all it takes is one, Nick. It takes one freaking sick play or one something to just like, and that's the thing. Maybe that's what happens. I just roll in and I'm just like that guy, and then something crazy happens, like I freaking catch a ball in my
Eh,
mouth or something. I don't know.
ooh, ooh.
Like
Now that would be something if you did that.
we're gonna try to avoid that, but
Yeah.
like you just never know. Like I feel like that's how it's gonna happen is when I'm not even thinking about it. Boom,
I feel like
And so
you'd probably have an endorsement with some, dental implants or
yeah,
some type of
yeah,
dentistry. So then that
it
cash
would be a
starts
great
rolling in.
deal. It's pretty expensive stuff.
So
Um,
you get going in the new year then, like right
Yeah,
away.
so January 6th is the first day of spring training and like physicals and stuff start that day. Yeah. And
No
so
kidding.
it'll be interesting to see how the practices like are conducted and everything we go through with like all the choreography and stuff that they do outside of the baseball
Yeah.
side of things. But yeah, so right now I'm working out, I'm staying in shape and throwing on top of, obviously radio and working here at the Wave. So it's good, man. There's a lot of unknowns. I'm excited to find out, what it's all about, and pretty excited for the opportunity. But it's happening quick, and December's flying by. So
Yeah.
I'll be there before you know it, and let's go.
We're gonna have to do this again then when you get down there if you have time during camp because I got so many questions that I know you can't answer until you actually experience this. Like you said, as simple as what do practices look like for the Savannah Bananas?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
I'm
I'm
I'm,
thinking,
I'm excited.
did you ever see semi-pro?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay, you know how they have the practice, but then they also do the choreography practice where they've got the sons and everything. They're doing the dance.
They're
I'm
dressed
assuming
out
like,
in their costumes.
yeah, you guys are gonna
Yeah.
take in and out, work on some backhands, some glove sides, get a couple hacks in, and then all of a sudden it's all right. Then the whistle blows and it's time for choreography.
Yeah, they say it's a pretty competitive environment, like, with them, so or, like,
Everybody
because they
looks
play
like,
the
I mean, they
party.
all play college ball, right?
Yeah, so it's like they're I mean, all these dudes are pretty incredible athletes too, like, on
Yeah.
top of it, and, like, you gotta to, like, be able to make all those trick plays and stuff, like, it's not easy. It's not easy to do, like, the best I can do is behind the back and, maybe that way and some glove flips and stuff, but, like,
Can you juggle?
these guys are doing backflips and catching at the same time, like, "Bro,
Yeah.
it's insane, I'm too scared to even backflip." Um, but yeah, we'll absolutely have to do another
Yeah.
one because I can't wait to find out the answer to those questions.
For sure. Hey, I took up a lot of your time. I really appreciate it, and I know everybody was excited. I was talking to Bonnie Ryan, Frank Ryan's daughter. She was asking me about it. I said, "Yeah, I'm going to have KP on. We're going to talk about this." But also, your story as a Husker, which I think is still one of the more remarkable ones, given the fact that you had success on the field, but overcoming the adversity, which was awesome. And I believe, hey, good things happen to good people. You're a good dude, man, and something great has just happened to you. So I know everybody in the state's rooting for you and beyond because of what you represented both in the Millard area, at Nebraska, and beyond. But all the very best to you, my man.
Thank you very much, Nick. I appreciate it. You're one of the best, man. I appreciate all the kind words. I'm looking forward to doing this again soon.
We will. We'll do it live from Banana Ball Camp.
There we go. Banana Land.
Love it. Be well, my man.
You too. See ya.